all these. Oh.
Yay, we have focus. I tell you what, I hate talking about serious stuff, so I'm gonna put the pause on here, at least one of them, so I can cope with this better. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Boopity boopity boop. I'm gonna be wearing this more, I think. I don't know, it's a lot funner this way. Although none of my hand gets captured in frame. After the last video, I feel like I've sort of, how do you say, lost my serious talking privilege. That being that the last video was like a big joke. I set it up that I was gonna be all serious and all that, and then, actually, if you haven't seen that video, it is very serious. You can go check that out. For those who have seen it, you know it was just like, it was a prank. My neural network video, I can't zoom in because I have this thing on. Maybe this is why I don't wear these as often. What if I put it on the other hand? Neural network thing is taking a very long time, and I want it to be good. Since I've spent so much time on it as is, I figure it should be really good when it comes out. So I was thinking, what should I talk about instead? And like a thing that has been bugging me for quite some time came into my brain, and I said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And this is serious. It's not a joke this time. And it basically goes like this. Like a year ago, I made this video entitled, I Disagree or something like that. And it was about how I would see people say things that were like mean and like I disagreed with. And it was just sort of like a message to myself almost about how just because somebody is more popular than you, or like it's sort of a cheesy message, but it really is true, or they have more money than you or something, doesn't mean that their opinion is correct. And I made that video because of the person I'm going to be essentially subtweeting in video form today. By the way, Noodle Stillat, you know who you are. I'm gonna be putting you up there soon in the Hall of Fame thing. I can't believe I haven't yet. I'm sorry. Turns out I wasn't recording on the second camera this whole time. So yeah, where am I? I've been like focused on this for about a year, I think, and it's been bothering me quite a lot. I really try to not talk about this sort of thing because it's not fun. It's not really enjoyable to talk about, and in the end, it's mostly just a bummer. So, I mean, if those reasons aren't good enough, I mean, you know, it sort of gets to a point though where I feel like talking about it is the best thing I can do, and I hope you can appreciate that it must have been a relatively big deal to me if I decided to talk about it. You know, it basically comes down to. What I'm talking about comes down to this, okay? There is a furry fursuit person who makes YouTube videos and has said some horrible, horrible stuff in the past and recently, and nobody really seems to care that they said these things. It might sound sort of like petty or just like, why do you care at first? But I'm gonna get into why I care in a second. And when I say nobody seems to care, I mean like they're still at meetups. They're still somewhat relevant. Some friends of mine have like brought it up and been like, you know, have you seen this? You may notice I haven't said any names, and that is very purposeful, in fact, because there's this whole thing on YouTube especially where somebody's name in the title and you say something negative about them and you can get a bunch of views for it. I know in the furry community quite often when issues come up, they get sort of just dismissed as like, oh, you know, that's just drama. And like this whole anti-drama thing that the furry fandom has, I think is probably a good thing, you know. I find people really make an effort to not call out other people, you know, this thing that people do on the internet where somebody doesn't really like something that they're doing, and it sort of starts like this war between creators or communities or something. Often that stuff is kind of stupid, but sometimes it is valid in that, you know, if somebody is being a real jerk or is doing something really horrible, or sometimes it does make sense to talk about it. It's not just like drama, you know? And the way I've personally come to handle it is that by not mentioning names, I feel like it has some integrity to it, because like you're talking about the principles and why you don't like these concepts. You know, it's not an attack on the person specifically, so it feels more diplomatic in some way. I'm not sure if I'm off base on that, but I'm just dancing around this. Let's get to the point. I've been rather scared to talk about it because I don't want to get lampooned. There's a furry YouTuber that's at least somewhat prevalent who has said and done some really horrible stuff that they, you know, and they still stand by the stuff they did. It's not like an accident, or it's not like there was some sort of apology, or like, it's frustrating me that nobody really seems to care. I have a specific person in mind, but I'm sure there's other people as well. So another benefit to talking about something through principle is that if anybody is doing the things I'm saying, they're probably not a very good person, right? Avery, what have they done that's so bad that's making you blab about this? They've done a lot of things. So there's a list of grievances, literally. I have a specific event I'm going to tell you all about, and I feel like that sort of portrays their whole vibe pretty well. Another thing I'd like to sort of mention here is I do not know this person personally. So if I ever get a chance to interact with them, I will ask, say, you know, is this a misunderstanding? But I mean, at least at this point from the stuff I've seen, it does not appear to be some sort of like misunderstanding, miscommunication of some kind. Let's see. So I think the specific thing I'm going to talk about to sort of introduce like why I'm frustrated about this person was this one time, and they talked about this time on a podcast. So I am going to refer to this person I'm talking about as Meanie. I'm like 11 years old. They were really mean and really transphobic to a person, and they were a real jerk about it. They talked about what they had said on a podcast. It felt like they were sort of like bragging about it. It was something along the lines of this non-binary person is explaining how they're non-binary to this Meanie person, and the guy stops him and says something along the lines of like, no, shut up, you're not non-binary. Only a million times ruder by like throwing the F word in. I have said the F word before in my life. I just choose not to because I like to keep this channel at least somewhat appropriate enough so you can watch it around your parents and not have to turn down the volume. What's my point? And Meanie went on to tell this non-binary person what gender Meanie thought they were. It's really hard to convey what I'm trying to say here because of, I don't want to repeat what was said, but basically they corrected a trans person when the trans person said that they were trans. Do you get what I'm trying to get across here? It was really not nice. They corrected somebody's gender identity. And Meanie goes on, you know, in this podcast to talk about how they don't think non-binary people are a real thing, which means clearly they haven't done enough research into the topic to be able to comment on it. It really just made me sad to hear about that. I thought this person was a nice person, and it seems pretty clear they're not, and maybe that's still not enough for you. Like, if you dig into it, there's quite a few other examples and like some weird accusation-y stuff, you know, stuff about them like saying racist things, saying derogatory terms in videos, like not to make some sort of point, but as just like another swear word. Each of those different things may bother some people more than others, you know. If I were to share the whole list of grievances, I'm sure you could find something that you didn't like on it. The reason I say list of grievances is at some point, you know, I mean, after the I disagree videos, several people approached me actually and said, you know, like, oh, I was involved with this, or I noticed this too. I was like, I should probably start keeping a list of the stuff that this dude has done. I feel like I might need to use it in the future if I ever bring it up. I really dislike talking about something that could be misconstrued as just this like drama, like you want to start something type thing, because that's not who I am. I really love positive vibes and like this whole, I make videos because I enjoy it, but I want other people to enjoy it as well, or other creatures for that matter. It's been bothering me for such a long time that this person openly says these things and does these things, and like I'll see somebody bring it up here and there, but nobody else seems to say anything about it. This person is still goes to like these popular furry meetups and like is in other people's videos. Are furries too nice? Or is it just a case of people not knowing? Because I think it's really hard to blame somebody for not knowing something. I just it really bothers me because when somebody does these things like repeatedly and doesn't, it's not an accident, it's not some sort of misunderstanding, they're just being a jerk. Because there are people who are super nice and super amazing who don't get to have a bunch of YouTube subscribers, you know, and they actually deserve it, right? I don't know. By the way, I don't typically wear glasses. I'm feeling lazy today. I feel like in an accepting society or community, sometimes you have to exclude people who threaten that acceptance. Actually, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that. So if you'd like to share, go ahead. That sort of is what makes the most sense to me. And I feel like by including this person and like interacting with them and that sort of stuff without sort of denouncing the sucky stuff that they've said and done, you're almost endorsing the stuff that they've said. That's just the way I've always thought about stuff. And maybe that's not the right way to do it. I just, this person that I'm specifically thinking about is also friends with another, well, I was going to say furry, but this person they're friends with has actually denounced the fandom on multiple occasions for like it being dead and stuff. They're even worse. I mean, they've said all this horrible stuff and there's actually been consequences for them. But what it sort of tells me, at least, I don't know if I'm off base in saying this, but it sort of shows me that they mean what they're saying. They're actively engaging with other people who have said similar things. When thinking about, is it worth talking about this? Because typically I would just say, wow, that's really irritating, and sort of say, good things come to people who wait, you know, it's gonna bite them eventually. And that's what I've done for like the last year and a half or whatever. But in with that one example, you know, where they were talking about this thing they said on a podcast, I would rather get accused of like trying to start something and stick up for a group that needs to be protected than to just sit by and pretend, you know, like nothing's happening. This thing has many letters, okay? And if you mess with one of the letters, you mess with me. You'll get the pause. Isn't that a thing from like, you mess with me, you'll talk to the fist or something, talk to the paws? Okay. I don't know. Me talking about it makes me feel a lot better. And it's not just about me feeling better. I just really, like, I feel like it's important to denounce the stuff that this person has done. Furries are a rather closely knit community, and I don't want somebody to think that I'm like thumbs up okay with what this person is saying and doing. I think that's really about it. I think that was a good talk. Merry holidays to whatever you celebrate. I'm hanging out on Telegram a lot. I recently went through a breakup that really sucked. So I've mostly been doing an Avery sushi roll on the couch where I like ball myself up in a pillow and like I've been trying to spoon various inanimate objects like pillows and blankets and stuff to try to make myself feel better. But I've got nothing. So if you'd like to chat, you know, tweet me or something and we could talk, or I don't know. To the more nerdier of us, I actually just got this really interesting shell. I forget what snail it's from. Check this out. This is the type of snail that what it does is it picks up bits of like coral and rock and other seashells. It glues it to the back of its shell. And I'm not sure, it might be a mating related thing, or it might just be like a camouflage thing. I haven't really looked into it too much. But look, isn't that crazy? It picks up stuff and glues it onto its shell. It's really funny to me. Clam shell. There's like every unit, there's just a little shell. What an incredible creature, dude. Like, that's so cool. Rest in peace, snail man. You had a good life and now your shell will be preserved. So yeah, we ended that really not fun video on a happier note. I almost forgot, thanks to my Patreon people. If you go onto my Patreon, you can watch my videos 24 hours earlier-ish. Typically it's about 24 hours, so if you want to do that, really appreciate it. Love you, bye.